on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Brandon's Face. It's the podcast about a playlist. I'm Jonathan Beardsley.
And I am Brandon May.
Thank you for tuning in. It's good to be back. We've been off for the past 2 weeks, and we have a ton of music to talk about this week. So let's just dive right in.
It's the mega episode.
It is the mega episode, man. There's so much on here I'm excited to get your thoughts on. We actually saw each other in the time we've been away and really did not talk about anything on here. So been dying.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. First up, we got this new one from Dom Dalla called Girls. I've been waiting to see how he would follow up his insane run of 2023, and I don't think he disappointed with this one. It's a certified banger. I'm going to be playing it all summer. What about you?
I honestly love this track, man. The subtle acid hits, how incredibly catchy it is, and the percussion is right where it needs to be. This is a ton of fun.
Yeah, and for those who missed his run last year, he had Saving Up, one of my favorite tracks of all last year, Eat Your Man with Nelly Furtado, and Rhyme Dust with MK, which was one of the biggest dance songs all year. So man, the guy is on top right now
He's
and
on
is
fire.
showing no signs, of slowing down. Got a new one from Jamie XX. This one is called Treat Each Other Right. It's a new one off his upcoming album that's due out, I think, in September. He put this song out alongside that announcement. I'm very excited about it. I think he's already dropped another single since this has been out, but good Lord, man, I love where this is going. What about you?
Yeah, this is an absolutely incredible track from Jamie XX. The sampling, the dreamy guitars, the synth work, everything about this is done so well. I love this track, and I am officially stoked for the album. Since this has dropped, we actually have a new single that we'll be covering next week as well.
With Robin. So
yes,
big one.
knowing him, the release for In Color was like 8 singles or something like that, and with this album not dropping until later in the year, I'm sure we'll get a ton of singles. So, you know.
Yeah, that seems to be the new norm. Lola Young's album is dropping tomorrow night, and I think she's put out like 7 or 8 of the 10 songs already. So
Yeah, my God.
just kind of the way it is now. All right, man, we got a new one from Caribou, Broke My Heart. Sadly, there was no album announcement to go along with this release as well, but he is going on tour. I think hearing this track in Honey Live will be great for anybody who gets to experience that. What do you think about this one?
Classic Caribou at this point, man. This dude can do no wrong. The bounciness of this track is just unstoppable. It's light, it's airy, the drop fucking hits. The bass line is amazing. Then the light vocals atop this beat just bring everything together.
I agree, man. All right, we got 2 new ones from Duck Sauce. Can't Stop and Boogie in Your Butt. What are your thoughts on these ones?
Duck Sauce is back with a couple of house hits again, never taking themselves too seriously and making some incredibly fun music. These tracks are fun, they're light, they hit, man. They look, man, I still maintain that their 2013 Essential Mix is one of the most fun ways to spend 2 hours listening to music. For everybody who is listening and who has not heard that and also likes house music, I'm going to leave a link in the description because it's probably one of the better essential mixes of all time.
It's great. You have told me about it a few times, and I always love listening to it. It's really good. I think both of these tracks are good. Can't Stop, classic Duck Sauce. Boogie in Your Butt, good song with unfortunate but fun lyrics. All right, man. We got a new Caliber remix of Lungs by Rudy. I'm not familiar with the original here, but I like the jungle vibes coming off this remix, and those keys and the vocals when it slows down are beautiful. What'd you think about it?
Man, you already know that I love this track. It is a gorgeous reinterpretation of an actually already pretty gorgeous track. I wasn't aware of the original song like you, but after this, I immediately went to listen to it. It's different, but Caliber just did a great job of flipping it into his style. This is gorgeous, man.
Yeah, dude, it's really, really well done. More of this, please. All right, we got the LPGOB remix of Earth Sign by Brittany Howard. Brittany doesn't miss, GOB doesn't miss. This is easy thumbs up from me, man. What about you?
Yeah, beautiful remix of a beautiful song. LP stays killing it.
As always. All right. New one from Porter Robinson. Russian Roulette is the name of this track. This one is a little more 21 Pilots than I was expecting or hoping for, but it's really grown on me. And I think when that final synth lead drops, it is, as the song says, that chord progression is just too powerful, right?
Yeah, man. I thought we were just gonna get fun songs, but now we're getting sad songs disguised as fun songs. Can't make me get
Yeah, yeah.
emotional with this upbeat of a track, Porter. You can't keep getting away with it. This album is
I
shaping up to be interesting.
I don't think he's trying to make you emotional with Pitchfork posts a video of a monkey pissing into its mouth. But yeah, he does hit on some sentimental notes. This song to me is still all within the character of the person he's playing on this album, not really Porter Robinson the person. That's my
Yeah,
take on it.
yeah.
All right. We got a new one from Elohim. Didn't sign up for this. What are your thoughts on it?
Vocal echoes are fucking haunting on this one, man. She makes
Yep.
such good music. I loved this one.
Yeah, dude, it's a really good track. I like the production on it quite a bit. And like you said, vocally, she always does her thing. Those echoes are fucking great. Thumbs up from me.
Yes, sir.
Got a new one from Elderbrook called Shallow Water. I don't think it's a bad song. I'm just a little burnt out on Elderbrook right now, or this kind of mature dance sound. As we'll talk about soon, it is a brat summer for me. But what did you think about this one? Did you like it?
I actually really liked it, man. It's emotional. There's fantastic chord progressions, and his vocals are actually getting better, in my opinion. I thought it was good shit, man.
I will agree with that. I think his vocals are like getting smoother as we go along too.
Yep.
All right, new one from Omar Apollo called Less of You. Not at all was what I was expecting from a new Omar Apollo song. He sounds really good over this dance pop type of beat, though. What did you think about it? Did it work for you?
Yeah, man. This is a beautiful song. It's catchy as hell. He's getting better and better. Do we have like more like do we have another like new EP or new album on the way from Omar?
New album. It is called God Said No, and it drops June 28th, so next week.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, really soon.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that one, obviously. All right, new one from Jungkook called Never Let Go. Not my favorite JK track, but it's nice to hear something new from him while he's away in the military. I think this is one that they stashed away, and as far as I believe it, I don't know if it's just him or a member of the group, but every year on the group's like anniversary when they started, they release a new song by one of the members. This is just that song for this year. Probably why it feels
Got
like
it.
kind of a throwaway. What'd you think about
Mm.
it though? Did you like it?
Yeah, man, this one's a little lazy. Just kind of substanceless,
Yeah.
It's fine. It's just not my thing.
It's like that last J-Hope EP too. Like both of those artists both put out solo albums that I think are of the caliber you'd expect from an artist of their level. But
Right.
yeah, these kind of follow-up projects that are obviously like, hey, don't forget about them while they're gone shit are not really hitting the same notes for me. All right, man. This one is it's a new one from Gallant called Cold Star. Gallant going full indie is not what I was expecting, but I love it. I miss his falsetto, of course, but if he's going to give me some vibey sax outro instead, I am not going to complain. This is fucking great, but it is very different for Gallant. Did that work for you or no?
Oh, this worked really well for me, man. This is a
Yes.
great track. The sax is sexy as hell, and Gallant is just giving this vibe that he's just on top of the world, man.
Yeah, dude, this is excellent. I love that he's kind of going genreless with this next chapter, and he has confirmed that whatever we're in now is a new chapter. So hopefully it's leading to an album or at least an EP, but we'll see.
Good shit.
Got a new one from Hard Life called Tears, aka Easy Life. Oh man. So I am happy to hear this guy's voice again. I knew that they were going through a lot of legal stuff last year after EasyJet sued them for the name Easy Life, which is just fucking ridiculous. And he talks about it in the lyrics, but has since had to go back and add a little bleep over the part where he said the CEO of EasyJet's name. It's just a dumb line about at least give me air miles if you're going to take my fucking stage name. But I wondered what new name they'd go with. I think Hard Life is perfect, and I think that this song is kind of a perfect start to that new chapter. What did you think about this one?
Yeah, so I heard the line in the song, and I did a little bit of research, and yeah, it turns out Easy Life is hard life now, which is honestly, dude, that is
Fucking
just so
bullshit, though.
fantastic. It's
It's great, but yeah, a great pivot, but unfortunate situation.
right. Yeah, I feel the same way. Yeah, it was a good song. His music is a little hit or miss for me, but I liked this one.
Yeah, me too. He is on Island Records under Universal Music Group. I'm honestly surprised that their lawyers are not just as good as EasyJet's lawyers, you know?
They
But
probably don't
maybe
care
that
enough.
doesn't fall under their purview. Maybe he doesn't make them enough money to get them to care. Unfortunate either way, but glad to have him back. I really liked it.
Everything in the music industry is an ROI, man.
Yep, you are not wrong, sadly. Except this podcast. All right, we got a new one from Sabrina Carpenter called Please, Please, Please. It's produced by Jack Antonoff, and you can tell by the way that it sucks. She's got a new album dropping in August, though. It's called Short and Sweet. Hopefully, he doesn't have too big of a role in the production, although I do think I did see today he has like six or something songs on there. So I'm not really looking forward to that one. I feel like I already know how it's going to sound, but you might dig it, man. What are your thoughts on it?
This is basically a Fleetwood Mac song, man. I actually really liked it. And usually Sabrina's music is a little boring for me. I do like this one. If the whole album sounds like this, I'm in.
All right, we'll see. That one comes out in I think a month or so, so
That's
we don't
so
have too
funny,
long to
bro.
wait. Yeah, that's a great analogy, Fleetwood Mac. All right, man, we got a new one from Ray called Genesis. It's Ray being Ray for 7 minutes. Her vocal prowess is insane. It's really hard not to be impressed by what she does on this. It's charting in the UK. A fucking 7 minute song is charting in the UK. I think that kind of shows where her star power and their appreciation of her talent is at right now, which, man, fucking deserved. What do you think about this one?
Okay, what the fuck, John? This is a banger. Ray has just
Yeah.
catapulted herself to the top of my favorite contemporary vocalist spot. Her voice is just entrancing. The music behind her is just as good. This is like three tracks in one. You know, I like
Mhm.
7 minute tracks. God, man, this was an easy song of the mega week for me.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude. Yeah, get her with Bad Bad right now. I gotta
Let's
hear
go.
some. Yeah, dude, her vocals are insane. I think it's very unfair to put any like type of Amy Winehouse comparison on what she's doing, but I think like just in terms of how astounded you are when you hear her level of talent at times, it is reminiscent. That's about all I'll say about that. All right, new one from Tommy Richmond, Devil is a Lie. If we're going purely based on play counts, this is my song of the week. I've listened to it so many times a day, every day since it dropped. I love it. We're getting his debut album later this year. If it sounds anything like the two singles, I'm very excited. No release date for it yet, though. Is this one just as good as Million Dollar Baby for you or no?
Yeah, I actually really liked this one, man. The instrumental on this is great. It's too short, but I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Too Short is kind of the theme of this week. There's a few songs that Hard Life one I would have liked another like 2 minutes on that easy, but
Right.
I'll take it.
Yep.
New one from Denzel Curry, Tia Kareen, and ASAP Ferg called Hot One. This is the first single off Denzel's upcoming collabs album. It's an absolute banger. Feels almost zoo adjacent, and that's pretty much all I ever want from Denzel's music. What'd you think about this one?
I actually really love this song, John. I love it when Denzel gets like this. The production on this one is
Mm-hmm.
kind of like Melt, but the lyrics are very zoo. I'm
Yep.
stoked for the new album. Ferg's bowel movement line is the most unfortunate lyric of the week, I think, and I bust up laughing every time it comes on. It's so corny, but you know what, Ferg, do your thing.
It's a very unfortunate lyric. I will agree with you on that. Still a banger though.
Yep.
Speaking of bangers, we got a new one from Doechii, Miles Per Hour. Every track she releases moves her up my list of current favorite rappers. I can't stop listening to this one, man. What about you?
Doechii needs to be bigger, John. She is just out here killing
She's
it
getting
on
there, man.
every
She's getting
track.
there. Yeah, she's getting there. I think maybe like a proper full-length album in the first quarter of 2025, if not later this year, would really cement where she's at right now. She's got some bangers, dude.
Agreed.
All right, we got this remix of Sunday Service. This is Lotto, Megan Thee Stallion, and Flo Milli. I think the original was Lotto and Cardi B. I'm a fan of all the artists involved here. It's not my favorite release of any of theirs by any means, but I think hearing them all wrapped together on the same song is pretty cool. What about you?
I loved this song, man. This track goes so hard.
Good.
All of them killed every verse on this. Even I felt like a bad bitch every time this song came on.
It's because you are a bad bitch.
Aw, thanks, man.
How'd this new one from Lupe Fiasco called Cake make you feel?
Just Lupe being Lupe. It's lyrical as hell. Production and composition is great. What's not to like?
My review's pretty much the same, but honestly, like we're underselling it. Like I don't think the hook on this song is good, but when he's snapping and the dude is snapping on this song, like do not get it twisted. It's insane. Like people just because he's not popular anymore act like he's not talented. This dude can still rap his fucking ass off at a high level. This
I
is
think
great.
you're right. I think we are underselling it a little bit. The dude can clearly knows what he's doing in the booth, and yeah, I think he absolutely killed this one. I really enjoyed it. We have a new album on the way,
Same.
right? Samurai.
Yep, we do. We do. Lupe's the type of dude that can go completely featureless, but if I can manifest a feature, I really want to hear him and Saba on the same track.
Oh dear God,
I think that would be so fucking good. I think their styles are perfect for each other, but
totally
here's to
agree.
hoping. All right, man. I'm a little torn on this new one from Smino called Polynesian. Something about it just isn't clicking for me. I think I'm usually a fan of his specific brand of like rap and R&B, but this one just never feels like it gets out of second gear. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. But I think it's not supposed to get out of second gear. That is.
Maybe
Um,
that's it.
I liked it. I didn't. It wasn't my favorite song of the week, but I will say I thought that his last album came out like last year or something like that. But
Yeah,
it's
year or two
2022. It's
ago.
like we're due.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in modern terms, we are due, but I think he's at like I don't know, he's at a slightly higher tier than we think. He can pace himself a little more. You wouldn't think Schoolboy could wait as long as he did to follow up his last album, and he did, and it was worth
True,
it. So
true,
I
true.
don't know. I do think Smino's like a comparable talent to Schoolboy and how unique they are, and if you just give them the time to really put something together. They will make something special, but not everything hits, and this one just didn't do it for me.
Let Smino cook.
It's me no good. All right, changing gears a bit to this new Nathaniel Ratliff and the Night Sweats song called Get Used to the Night. What are your thoughts on it, man?
You know, man, there is something about this band that's just doing it for me. I usually don't like this twangy stuff, but Nathaniel and his band here have some special sauce or something, dude. I really liked this song. I'm stoked for the album, man. I've liked all the singles so far. What about you?
I know you like this group. I've tried. I just don't like it. It's country people who for it's country for people who don't like country, that whole thing again. Rock for people who don't like rock. I don't know, man. It's just not doing it for me the same way it is for you.
I
But I
guess
will
that's
check
fair.
out the album for you whenever it drops.
I know you will.
Got this new one from Smile Empty Soul called Savior. Remind me, man, is this band from the desert? It was driving me crazy.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe. I heard about
Okay,
them in
for
the
some
desert.
reason I thought they were from like out where you are, but I could be mistaken. Anyways, what are your thoughts on this song?
Look, man, I've been listening to this band for a long time, probably almost 20 years now. It's rock music, man. Nothing too deep. It's filled with angst and sadness, just the way I like Smile Empty Soul.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of this, but it'd be wrong of me to praise bands like Bring Me the Horizon for doing 90s worship and not praise bands that have kind of been around since that same era of doing
Right.
that actual music the whole time. So I'm gonna give it a thumbs up for now.
There we
It's
go.
good. Got this new one from Calling All Captains called Wallflower. What are your thoughts on it?
Some good old fashioned pop punk, John.
Yep. No frills, straight to the point. What's not to like, man?
Right. It's a good one.
And staying in that same vein, we got two new tracks from Cliff Diver, Days Gone, and Black Lodge Breakfast Burrito. I'll take two new Cliff Diver songs any day of the week. Both of these are really good. More straight up pop punk than the ska punk I've kind of come to know them for so far, but I thought it was all really good. What about
So
you?
so I still throw Exercise Your Demons, their last album, on my turntable
Yeah.
quite a bit, man. I was excited to see their name pop up in my notifications. That's always a fun time. These tracks are great, man. The gang vocals on Days Gone and like the emotional lyrics from a song called Black Lodge Breakfast Burrito are just things that I love about this band. Like you said, we're missing the ska elements that I loved so much on their last record. I hope they bring out some horns or something.
I don't think I've ever had a breakfast burrito at a lodge.
You know, man, when you go to a lodge or like a mountain town, you're going to want to get their. They normally have a skillet, and it's normally just a slop of all things breakfast. And that's normally
Hmm.
the best thing on the menu.
Yeah, in the town where I grew up, Yuba City, California, shout out. They have a place called Cookin' Pot, still there. The main dish that they serve is called the mess. It is just breakfast covered in gravy, and it is fantastic.
This is the
That's
way,
what you
man.
want.
This
Yeah,
is the
that
way.
is the way. That is the way. All right, man. Moving on to this new one from Nerve called Fake. I wouldn't say I like this song, but I really enjoyed it for what it is. It's nothing that we haven't heard before, but you're lying if you say you don't like the breakdown that starts with fuck you and goes into some scratches, right?
Oh yeah, it's some good old good old fashioned radio friendly metalcore with some new metal influence. It's catchy.
Yeah.
It's got a little smidgen of heaviness, and yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, same man. We got a new one from Poppy called New Way Out. It sounds like Poppy, and I mean that as a good thing. I'm a big fan of her sound, and this is just more of that. What about you?
Poppy just consistently puts out bangers. Even her features. This is
Mhm.
glitchy. It's heavy. It's catchy. Her voice is so good with the heavy instrumentals. Love this one.
Yeah, she's on a run this year. That track with Bad Omens back in January was great. That track with Knocked Loose is my favorite off of that album, and this one is straight fire too, man. So
Yes,
shout out
sir.
Poppy. All right, man, talk to me about this new one from Liminal Shroud.
All right. Our first single, well, our only single from Willow Tip Records this week. We have an album from them. Liminal Shroud put out an album in 2022 that I think we covered. Some
Mhm.
black metal with like some technical death metal influence, and you know I love that shit.
Oh, dude, yeah. I mean, this kind of run of next three singles was such a fun run of different types of metal to cap the singles off this week, and I think that this one
Right.
was the perfect way to kind of start it off. Just some straight up black metal.
Yep.
And then, all right, let me try and say it. Shan Sugar Bob?
No.
Damn it.
Sanguisugabog.
Damn it.
That's how
Damn
I
it.
say
All
it.
right.
I'm probably wrong.
Yeah, we're all wrong. The song's called Permanently Fucked, which is what we exactly are when it comes to pronouncing their name. This one, man, it bangs. It's almost a little too muddy for me in the mix, like the kick drums, the way it all just kind of goes together, but it goes, you know? What'd you think about it?
Look, man, whoever tuned this snare drum needs a fucking raise. There is just nothing but absolute buffoonery all around this song, and I just love it, man. This band hits the caveman part of my brain over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Those two steps into a blast beat, just moments that like crescendo into a breakdown. That's just lovely, John.
I do agree, man. We love some buffoonery on the podcast.
Big fan.
All right, we got a new one from the Black Dahlia murder called Aftermath. This one just fucks, man. I really don't have much else to say about it. But is this the same lineup they've had for like years now, or
Well,
have there
so
been changes in that
yeah,
regard?
so Trevor, their lead singer, died, I think, a couple years ago. And this is actually the first single without him. They instead of opting to hire a new vocalist, they got Brian Eskbach. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, Brian, who has actually been the band's guitarist and backup vocalist since the band's inception. He's a founding member. I think he absolutely crushed it. I hope the legacy of this band carries on. I think that this was a fantastic comeback single for them.
That's actually how I meant to ask the question. I was curious to know if they got a new vocalist or they went the from first to last route. They just had the guitarist kind of move over and start doing the vocals. I like that touch, honestly, and I think it works for them. The vocals on this are great. Music's on it is great, as it is the case with pretty much all Black Dahlia Murder music.
Yeah, man.
I really liked this one.
I'm not sure who's writing the lyrics nowadays, but Trevor's lyricism, I think, is always going to go down in melodic death metal history. And
Yeah.
I liked this song a lot. Um, Yeah.
Yeah, same. All right, let's move on to the EPs. We got a couple to talk about, starting with this new one from Tove Lo and SG Lewis called Heat. I wanted to like this one more than I did. I think it's fine. It's got a few bops on it. Their tracks together on her last album were my favorite off of that album, but I think that this release is just okay. What did you think about it?
I'm going to disagree with you, as we often
Please
do.
do.
From the first 303 hits that we get on Heat on the self-titled on the I'm sorry, the title track here, I actually knew I was going to like this project, dude. We actually have like a lot of acid house on this playlist this week, which is super sick.
Yeah,
Is it coming back in? Did it ever leave? I don't know. I actually think that Tove Lo over SG Lewis Beats is really tight. She's got a great voice for house, and SG really leans into the minimal house stuff that he used to do at the beginning of his career, which is welcome. His bass lines are great as always, and I love how Tove like brings a lot of the melody to the tracks with her vocals, brings a lot of balance to the whole project. I also really like how this is clearly like a collab. The vocals and instrumentals, I'm assuming, were likely written together rather than vocal samples just being overlain over like a pre-produced track. And I think your enjoyment of this project may be due to the fact that I think you might like SG Lewis's poppier stuff than you do his more minimal house stuff, because this is more minimal house with like a
possibly.
little bit of poppiness to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I think you're dead on there. I typically do like his poppier stuff a little more than the minimal house stuff. It's not a bad EP. It's just not quite as great as I think that they're capable of or what I've heard them do before. They also put
That's
out that
fair.
song with Nelly Furtado a few weeks ago,
They
and
did.
you were higher on that one than I was too. So maybe it's just where I'm at with this type of sound right now.
Maybe.
Is what it is though. The footage from their record release show looked like a good time, as do all Toblo shows. All right. We got a new one from Hands Like Houses called Strato. I have not listened to Hands Like Houses in years,
You're
probably
welcome.
since like Unimagined in 2013. I've always enjoyed what I've heard from them. I was excited to dig into this release when I saw you added it. I was happy to hear that not much has changed over the years. They definitely sound a bit older, of course, but they still sound like the same band, man. The singer hits some really nice notes. Music is still moderately heavy. I think it's a pretty solid release, man. What'd you think about it?
I totally agree. I think that this is a definitely a solid EP. Um, we've got some great riffage, some fantastic and passionate
Mm-hmm.
vocals. The riffage, though, is where the band shines on this. So there's some great melodies as well. I just wish we had a little bit more screamy, but I think they killed it. It was welcome every time it came on.
Yeah, same. All right, man. Talk to me about this new one from Roadhat and UFO 95 called Lavande.
So this was the first week's obligatory techno EP of the week. So UFO 95 is a French producer who I first found on a compilation of techno tracks in April that we didn't cover from Roadhad's label WWSNWG, which is a terrible record label name. So when I saw that UFO 95 had like released a collab with Roadhead, instant ad. These tracks are driving, they're groovy, they're progressive, they're just masterful, man. Roadhat is just on top of his game right now. There are elements that like feel like they've been there the whole time, even when they just like show up mid song and like kind of disappear, like the distortion on the hats in '01. The drums on this EP are just mesmerizing, John, and add so much to the groove of everything. I'm a huge, gigantic fan of this one. What about you?
Dude, you said it all. As you said, it is our obligatory techno release of week one of this megapod. He is quality as always. I think hearing him work with a new French artist and add that whole spin to it is a great blend. Uh, Big fan of all these. Like you said, the drums, though, are really what shines throughout this project.
Yeah, just those toms, the way they just like they drive towards something and then drop. Like it's really a good EP. If you like techno, this is this is peak for me right now.
So is the next one, man. And we got
Yes,
this one
sir.
from Boston 168 called Acid Arcane. I take it you meant this is the obligatory techno release for week two of this megapod, right?
Correct.
Talk to me about it, man.
It's acid techno, dude. I actually found a label who's not on, no, who Boston 168 is not on, but with this release I'm sure he might be, that only does acid techno and acid house. And I'm actually really feeling it. I think acid is going to be coming back. I think that's going to be on the back end of D&B, drum and bass's inevitable downfall in the States. I really liked this one, man. I think that acid techno is life.
Music is life, Brandon. Music is life.
You know,
I
it's
agree with you.
funny. I actually recently just bought a new synth. It's a 303 kind of clone by a company called Donner, and I've been fucking around with some acid stuff, and it's just a lot of fun, man. Acid is like timeless, you know. Trying to figure out
Yeah,
how to write defunct on it, but that's a entirely different story.
it's still around as a genre for a reason, man.
Correct.
Dude, yeah, this project's great. Impossible not to move to it. Great bass. Love the synths and sounds all over it. It's just really good shit, man.
I agree.
Got this new EP from Kerosene Heights called Leaving. I thought this one was really good too. It got a little bit of that like Midwest adjacent sound to it, similar to Swiss Army Wife, who we're also big fans of. It does all the things you want an EP like this to do. Dennis number three is my favorite track on it, simply for the little claps. You put little claps in any song, and I'm gonna fucking love it. You already know this though, Brandon. What'd you think about this?
How refreshing it was to hear some fun and poppy emo love songs from Kerosene Heights after all this techno. This is just mathy enough without getting like too glittery on the guitar for me. The perfect amount of energy for emo with plenty of like softer breaks. They've got that yell scream vocals along with some gang vocals. This band is keeping the hardcore and emo, and I just couldn't get enough of this EP this week. I actually woke up with this every day for the last since I added it to the playlist.
Ooh,
It's
good
just,
wake up album.
oh yeah, it was perfect, man. It gets you going without being too heavy, and it was great. Big fan, Kerosene Heights.
Yeah, same. I agree. All right, man. Are you ready to move on to the albums?
I've got some albums. Yeah, we could talk about
We do got a few albums to chat about here. I think 10 to be exact.
them.
All right, dude. I am just gonna dive right into this Charlie XCX album, Brat. This album is great. I've been a big fan of the singles. I had a feeling that I'd enjoy the album just as much. It's always nice to confirm that that's the case. It is just so damn fun. It's also randomly sad. It's a very messy album, but by design. It's a Charlie album. The mess is a feature, it's not a flaw, and I love being in the mess of this album with her. We get a song where she talks about wanting a baby, followed by a song where she talks about doing cocaine. Like, if you don't love that, you don't love Charlie XCX music. We heard Von Dutch Club Classics back to back in 360 as singles. I think all four are among the best four songs on the album. But some of the new songs are just absolute fire, man. 365 goes unbelievably hard. Everything is romantic as a banger. Talk Talk is a massive earworm. There were a few tracks that I didn't love as much as others when the album dropped, but they've all grown on me since. This is an easy no skips album for me. I love it. I think it's probably overtaken Cali as my current album of the year contender. By that
Wow.
alone, it's obviously in the 9 to 10 range, man. My standouts, Club Classics and 365, but the deluxe edition tracks on here are great, man. Hearing her interpolate Technologic by Daft Punk on Guess into
Right.
a full-on slut pop song is fantastic. And I think the song all of our fans have been waiting for since the Boiler Room set, Spring Breakers, is finally out, and that is just as glorious. So you can add that as one of my standouts as well. What did you think about this one, though, man?
All right. Well, this album is something that I feel like Charlie has been working towards her entire career. She most definitely deserves a victory lap for this one, as it's great and through, man. A.G. Cook, well, he cooked on this one, and I actually love the production on this, which is surprising because I didn't really like his album earlier this year. I know we got a few
Yep.
singles for this album, but I was a little jaded going into my first listen to this one due to my reception of A.G. Cook's solo album from this year. The singles were obviously great. We talked about those during the during our podcast earlier, you know, as they were dropping.
Mhm.
All of that being said, I was proven wrong on every single track here, man. This album is sequenced near perfectly. I hate it when the slower tracks are all just jammed into the back of an album, and Charlie most definitely peppered them in appropriately. They're sparse, though, and I think that works in her favor. At just 41 minutes and 15 tracks, this is basically the perfect length for a pop album. I love that she wasn't
Yeah.
afraid to get vulnerable on this one, as if that wasn't apparent by her single artwork. No, she actually talks about extremely personal things that a lot of people end up struggling alone with. I think for an artist like Charlie, that's pretty neat to hear her go full on into sensitive topics as she did. As much as I love it, I actually dislike a number of some of those some of those moments musically, though. When she
Fair.
discusses buying a gun to kill herself on "Sympathy Is a Knife," it actually is so upbeat; it's really hard to like take her seriously. The overly auto-tuned, I might say something stupid, is just so odd for me, man. She has such a great voice, and I think her normal level of auto-tune, I think, would have worked better on that one. That must just be me, though. Everything on this album, though, is incredibly catchy, as we've come to know and love from Charlie. And there's something in the production on this one that really elevates that. A.G. Cook, I think, deserves quite a bit of praise for this one. Von Dutch has, by the time of this writing at least, graduated to diminishing returns for me. It's a banger, but I think I may have listened to it a little too much at this point. I know
Fair.
repetition is like a thing in music. It's a thing that I love in music quite a bit. But if I have to hear "Fall in Love" again and again, I may just fucking lose it, John. The first half of that song is fucking great, though. I love quite a bit about this album, and I'm sure I'll be loving it for a long time. AG killed it. Charlie killed it. Everyone that worked on this album killed it. I'm glad she put her whole heart into it because passion always comes through in the music. And even if some of this didn't click with me as much as I wanted it to, I appreciate the fuck out of this. It's between an 8 and a 9 for me, but 365 is my standout, man. That acid
Yes.
really shines through, and she really does not hold back.
You can hear her say bumping that 8,000 times and not get tired of it, but fall in love again and again. You just get too burnt out on too
It's the
fast.
way it's said. It's not fall in love again and again, John. It's fall in love again and again.
You
And
are correct.
and
You
it just bothers me, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Hey man, I'm glad overall that you really enjoyed the album too. Like you said, the whole crew that worked on this deserves a lot of credit. A.G. Cook, clearly a major influence in the sound. There's production on here from George McDaniel, Easy Fun, Giselle Holstein produced, I might say something stupid. I think he might have worked on one of the other tracks too. There is clearly a lot of people that had a lot of good hands in this, and I think it shows in the end product. Usually too many cooks in the kitchen is a bad thing. The I think that this album's success, like, it doesn't even matter what you or I give it. It's evident in the way it's already being copied everywhere. We have Camila Cabello's team just pretty much looking over Charlie's shoulder as she's doing this rollout, trying to figure out how to copy it every step of the way. The newly announced Katy Perry project that got put up yesterday with her new picture, where she's going for all these hyper pop aesthetics with the long curly black hair. Everybody wants to be Charlie, as she says in 360. She's your favorite reference. I think this album is evidence of that.
You're so obsessed with Charlie right now, bro.
I am, man. This is my album of the year right now, dude. This is a fucking banger.
Amazing. I'm
Um,
glad you
all
liked
right,
it.
let's move on, dude. We got a new one from Peggy Gou called "I Hear You." I'm excited to get your thoughts on this one, man. What'd you think?
Oh, uh, this actually was not the album that I was expecting from Peggy, and I'm pleasantly surprised. The singles she released sounded at times derivative, and while good, it didn't show off her diversity as an artist as well as the entire project ends up doing. She explores a number of different styles and approaches to house music on this one, and even like strays away from house a number of times. The Korean moments really help tie this project together for me. At just 40 minutes, it doesn't overstay its welcome either. There is quite a bit of 303 on this, and I love that this instrument is getting so much use, man. We've got a lot of acid this week. And I think it's used very tastefully on this project. Tracks like I Go and Purple Horizon and Lobster Telephone are really good examples of this. I liked this
Mhm.
project a lot, even though it wasn't what I was expecting. What I love about it, though, is that it's so cohesive. She just continues to impress. And as is tradition, even if I didn't like some of the like very close to other songs, melodies that we got on like a
Yep,
handful of tracks here, I did enjoy the album as a whole more than I enjoy every piece of it on its own.
I
It's somewhere
agree.
between a 6 and a 7 for me. My standout though is 1 plus 1 equals 11, which is incorrect mathematically, but very correct for my ears.
Hey, 4 by 4 equals 12, you know? This is EDM math. It's a little different. Hey, Grimes told us, dude, these numbers, trying to figure them out, it's really hard and complicated, okay?
Hey, shout out to two Dead Mouse references right now because of how he absolutely bullied
Maybe
Grimes'
he's our favorite
memories.
reference, baby.
Joel wishes
Yeah,
he was Charlie.
I agree with you. I feel slightly different though. So I think the album is every bit as good as I expected it to be. It never really surprised me. Not every album needs to surprise the listener, but I felt like she kind of played it safe with this one. It's a very tight, concise, and cohesive album. It feels like it lacks some of the punch that her live sets have, though. And maybe it's unfair to expect that to translate to a full-length album. It is a different medium altogether. But her recorded music has been able to recreate that same excitement before for me. The moments on the album where it feels like it's firing on all cylinders are great. I think Back to One, I was a big fan of that one. It goes like, well, Derivative is a banger. I go with that 303, an immediate entry into her career essentials mix. There's a few album cuts on here that I think are pretty good too. The whole album, I think, is good, even if I selfishly wanted it to just be a little bit more. I think it's, like you said, in the 6 to 7 range. My standout of the bunch is either Back to One or I Go.
Well, good songs.
Yep. All right, man. Let's talk about this Normani album, Dopamine. I I don't even really have notes for this. It's just this one was such a long buildup. It's been 7 years or whatever since she's went solo. We've gotten a scattering of singles over the years, and the end result is a good R&B album. It's nothing worth a 7 year buildup. I'm not sure if that was entirely under her control or not, or label or not, but this is a good R&B debut album. I don't think it's much more than that. This is on the same level as like the Chloe one from last year. It's very good. It's very sex driven lyrically R&B. The production's all very solid. There's not really a hit on here, which I think is kind of the problem with waiting this long for an album. It seemed like she was waiting for a hit, and I do think all of the pre-album singles did so much better streaming than everything that she's released for this album. But that's not to say there's not really good music on it. Big Boy is a really, really fun one, if not kind of a, surface level double entendre. Still is kind of her best SZA impression. I think All Years is probably the strongest of the new tracks we got, but the ma gets a little annoying after just a little bit. I honestly like Victoria Monet on her album back in 2020 did a similar thing that Normani does here with Take My Time and just tries to go like a completely different route in the middle of a R&B album, like just throw a dance pop track on there. It's a decent song, but it doesn't really work for me within the context of the album. And that's just kind of how this thing goes, man. I think it's okay. It's like a 6 or 7 for me at best. I think that run of Still All Yours and Lights On are probably my favorite songs on it, but that's where I'm at with it right now. What about you, man?
You look, man, I think this feels a little dated, if I'm being real. I think the wait for this album contributed to that a little bit, but it actually got me thinking about how fast trends and music fly by us nowadays. It's good. She's got her confident flow on everything, and she uses the samples and interpolations that she used really well, but it's what makes the project sound a little dated.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
really
I
love the
agree.
I really love the bass line on Take My Time. Like you said, it's a weird moment on a traditional R&B album to have a dance
Yep.
pop song, but
Hmm.
that track and the bass line specifically is lush and adds quite a bit to the track. Her voice sounds pretty good throughout the record. Some of the lyricism though on this album is fucking weird. Uh, Tracks like Insomnia are really great representations of her vocal ability, but there aren't a lot of like standout moments, man. Like there's normally on
Mm-mm.
an R&B record, like there's normally a ballad that just like it's like whoa. But nothing made me go
Nope.
whoa for Normani here on this one. So I what do we think the delay on this album was? Was it sample clearances or was it label
No,
shit?
no. I think it was a mixture of label stuff and artist stuff. I think that she was overthinking this one. What was it going to be? All of that stuff. When in reality, the key is to not overthink it. Your first album's going to be what your first album's going to be. You can't really change how much people are going to be receptive to that. Like you had Tyla earlier this year who put out Water last year, which ended up being a huge hit as her first lead
Gigantic.
single. She built a whole album that ended up being really, really good. Like very, very, very good debut R&B album. All within a year after Water coming out and put the album out. This one just feels so overthought that it's kind of boring, even though it's trying so hard not to be, you know?
That's so fair, man, and you put to words what I was trying to express here. Look, man, it's a decent album, but it's definitely not my favorite release in R&B or pop or whatever we want to call it nowadays. I don't really even have a standout. I mean, I guess I could say Take My Time, right? But
Sure. Yeah.
yeah, sure. Let's call it
It's the
that.
most dancey. That makes sense for your standout for sure.
Right.
Yeah, is what it is, man. We'll see where she goes from here. I think that's what really matters as an artist.
Yep.
Putting out an album that honestly, like streaming numbers are kind of supporting what I'm saying here. For an artist as big as she is to have most of these songs not have even cracked a million plays yet since this has been out is
Yikes.
not a good sign. I think it's definitely trending towards flop territory, unfortunately for her,
Bummer.
but I don't think that that's any reason to write her off. She clearly shows her vocal talent is enough to keep her around on this album throughout it. But yeah, do some fucking ballads, man. Like Money Long would have been sailing over this goddamn album.
Right.
Throw some
Wow,
shit on
us,
there.
Normani.
Well, we're getting a Kalani album this week. Maybe that'll be some good R&B for us.
We'll be wowed.
All right, man. Let's talk about this new one from KAYTRANADA called Timeless. This album just exists at this heavenly intersection between dance, R&B, and all things that are good. The vocalists he's curated for this are perfect for the vibe and tempo he's going for. We finally got the long-awaited Gambino collab, and in my opinion, it's better than I could have imagined. We hear him and Rochelle Jordan follow up their banger Lover Friend with the immaculate Spit It Out. We get a new one from him and Channel Tress. We get features from Anderson Paak, Sir, Raven Lene, Don Tolliver, Pink Pantheress, Thundercat, and more. It is easily one of the most stacked dance albums from a features perspective, for my taste, of course, of all time. I know there's Calvin Harris and Tiesto, but the guests on this album alone are an all-time flex. I didn't even say Tinashe. Goddamn, Tinashe is on this motherfucking album. And I'm not just saying names of the features and not talking about the songs themselves because it's a spectacle that doesn't deliver. It more than delivers for me. If you're a Kaytranada fan, and I am. So this is gold to me. It's hard to even pick out a favorite three-song run on the album. The whole thing just flows so well. I think it's a solid 8 for me as of now. My standout is Witchy though, if I'm having to pick one. How did you feel about this one, man? You're always up and down on my boy Kaytranada.
Patronata's popularity continues to vex me.
Yeah.
It's house music for people who don't like house music. It's pop music for people who don't listen to pop, and it's R&B for people who don't like R&B music. There are clear moments of fantastic production on this though, and that is undeniable. There are also some moments that have me violently skipping the song every time it comes on. Album starts off good enough with that Jay-Z intro on Pressure and moves into Spit It Out, which is this like dreamy, kind of laid back, down tempo, lo fi house sound. Then we get to Call You Up, and I cannot for the life of me understand how productions end up making it on albums like this. It was fine the first couple times I heard it, but that incessant piano melody just makes me feel like I'm listening to nails on a chalkboard. I swear, if I had produced that, it would not be good enough for me to shop around for verses to throw on it. That's just me though. Then it comes to like Weird, the song Weird, and this is where I think Katra shines for me. Tracks like this are a bit more up tempo, and the vocal melodies from Duran Bernard really bring the track together. The backup singers kind of complete the rug that ties the room together. What unravels this rug for me are the lyrics on that song. It's just really odd. I
Fair.
think Charlotte Day Wilson and Katra are a fantastic match. Still, obviously a still is obviously a bop, and the production is gorgeous on this one. I wish that there was more depth to the song, but it's still a good one. The horns on Drip Sweat with Channel Trace are really neat, and I love
Yep.
the percussion on this one as well. Obviously, Channel kills his vocal moments. Tinashe kills her parts on More Than a Little Bit, and Katra's production is really good on this one. I like a lot of the features, of which there are plenty. I like a lot of the production, but there are moments that just leave me a little bit confused as to how they can make an album like this. I cannot understand the massive hype around KAYTRANADA, but maybe it's just not for me on that level. That's okay. I can appreciate a well put together album that has good and intentional features while having tight production. I guess it's just not really genre blending to me. It's more like he's in this weird spot between all of these things that I like really enjoy while not really doing any of them at a high enough level for me to praise. That being said, this is a 7 out of 10 for me. Standout is still that's going to be my standout from this one.
We're not far off score wise, but agree to
No,
disagree on some of the points for sure.
fair.
All right, man. Please do not disagree with me on this next one. So this is the album Right Place, Wrong Person by RM from BTS. This one came out a few weeks ago, actually, but I had to throw it on because it's one of my favorite albums to come out recently, and I just really wanted you to hear it. As I said, this is RM from BTS. I have never really explored his solo stuff before. Saw this album making some waves, so I figured I'd check it out, and really glad I did, dude. His blend of like K-pop, rap, a little bit of R&B is really exciting to me, dude. The production on this album is top notch and not what I was expecting when I hit play on it. Subverted my personal expectations for it in almost every way. And I love that, dude. It doesn't overstay its welcome, makes me want to dive back in, and I always want to hear this album from start to finish. It's just really, really well made. This one's another solid 8 for me. Might be creeping up to a 9 for me actually now. My standout is nuts. I'm a big fan of this one, but it is a little different. So I'm very, very curious to know your thoughts on it.
Well, John, I'm just gonna go straight out the gate with this. I don't think this album is for me. There are
Boo.
there are plenty of interesting moments on it, though. I just think that it's like not cohesive. One of the least cohesive albums I've heard this year. The melodies are off in like a number of songs, and after that intro, starting with Nuts, I it's my least favorite song on the album. It's
Oh, you
odd
are
that
so
it's
wrong.
so odd that you and I disagree so hard on things, but it is the way that it is. Um,
Yep.
short enough. It's a short enough listen to just 34 minutes. Like you said, it doesn't overstay its welcome, but I found myself kind of skipping through after my first listen pretty consistently. I'm just not a fan of the production on a number of the tracks, but I did find myself really loving tracks like Domadachi and Lost.
With Little Sims. Yeah.
Yeah, whose production really shines here, and that Little Sims feature is great. Tracks like Heaven and the first part of Around the World in a Day really just kind of put me off a little bit. The second part of Around the World in a Day actually really comes together and is great, though.
Yeah, the
Come back
Moses
to
Sumney stuff is great in there.
Right, right. Yeah. And then Come Back to Me is where the album shines to me, man. Dude can clearly write good music. I just don't think this album as a whole project is for me. It's a 5 for me. I didn't dislike it. I just didn't love it. Come Back to Me is my standout.
It's okay. We're all wrong once in a while, Brandon. It's more than fine.
You more than me.
I'm not going to disagree with that at all. All right, man. We got a new one from No Worries, aka Anderson Pack and Knowledge, called Wylod. I've been enjoying listening to this album for the past week or so now. I think it's as good as I expected it to be. It's enjoyable to listen to at almost any time of the day or during any situation. You can drive to it, cook to it, dance to it, drink to it, smoke to it. Lyrically, it's mature, but it's fun. The production is really clean. The sequencing is smooth. It does all the things it needs to do. Like there's really not much more to say about it than that. I wish it was a little more exciting at times, but I think it's an easy 7 from a quality standpoint. My standout is Daydreaming. I just really love the overall feel of that song, but since that one's been out for about a year or so now, my favorite of the new songs I think is Battlefield. I just really like his flow on that one. What about you? Did this one do it for you?
Bitch, you were supposed to be with me, John. I know you was getting your cheeks bleached. The wait is over. This album is great. John Knowledge clearly has an ear for smooth and sultry production, which are
Yeah,
the exact kind of beats that Pac shines on and has done for years and years. The sequencing on this album is nearly perfect. They have this chemistry that's almost unmatched in music right now. Everything is purposeful. Everything is sleek, mixed and mastered incredibly well. Keep Her with Thundercat is insane, man. And the way it bleeds together with Distractions is incredible. Speaking of distractions, it's a great representation of how great music is to be made. Listen to how purposeful everything is. The sax is mixed low, but enough to add to the song. The neck scrapes all being there, just audible enough to give the impression. The catchy vocal melodies, the way Pac just glides over every single moment, and the way the beat is produced to the lyrics and the vocal melodies. The only problem I have with this song is that it's just incredibly short. Geez, if they do a tour, they should bring a live band and just jam to some of these because the improvisational opportunities here
agree.
are incredible. I just
Yeah.
wanted them to cook a little bit more on everything. We should get an 8 minute No Worries song here, man. Uh,
Hmm.
the October London feature on From Here is wild. It reminded me of Gallant's Range quite a bit. There are so many things I love about this album, John. There are transitional moments between each track, even when they don't bleed together naturally, like Battlefield and Here I Am. The kicks are synced up so perfectly. It's hard to notice that the song has even changed, which is obviously the point here. Pack hooked on this one, even if some of the lyrics are as unhinged as the one I opened my review with. The guitars on this album are done so well. The percussion and drums work so well, and all of the little flourishes of all the other instruments, like the brass and the keys, all come together for a project that's cohesive and honestly something I continue to come back to during the week and will continue to throughout the year. It's between an 8 and a 9 for me, man, creeping up to a 9 every time I listen to it.
Oh yeah.
My standout is the whole thing. This whole thing is a song. I'm convinced of it. So
I had a feeling this one was going to be up your alley. I'm glad
big
it was,
fan.
man.
Big fan.
Yeah. All right, man. What about this new one from the early November, their new self-titled album? You a fan of this one too?
Yes. So I don't know if you listened to the early November during your scene days, but I did. I found them on SoulSeek. For the uninitiated, SoulSeek is a file sharing program that works a little differently than LimeWire and Kazaa rather. It allowed you to kind of look through users' shared files and trade them while like chatting if you wanted to. It was really cool stuff. I was searching through some users' files. I found this band, and the name just intrigued me enough to download a copy. I loved the album so much that I eventually asked the Record Alley in Palm Desert. Shout out to the Record Alley and also Dale's Records, since the Record Alley closed now. To source a CD for me at the time, I was able to get a copy of their album, The
Is
Mother.
it Dale who used to work at Record Alley?
Yeah,
Oh my God, love that. Okay,
right. Yeah,
continue.
for sure. So they were able to source a CD for me of the Mother, the Mechanic, and the Path, which is an album from them released in 2006 on CD. I still have that today. Uh, I had no idea they had been releasing more music since then, but I guess they've been releasing again after a hiatus since like 2012, which is sick because now I have a lot of music from them that I get to listen to. When I heard that this was coming out, I texted you immediately. I think this lived up to my hype. Call it pop punk, call it emo, call it whatever the fuck you want, man. This is peak 2016 music to me, and it's great. These guys come out of the New Jersey scene, which has produced many of the bands that I loved and continue to love. So there's no surprise here. There's something in the water in Jersey. I think all the punk kids should continue to drink it. Tracks like The Magician really capture their sound really well. There's great lyrics, gang vocal melodies, passionate vocals. This whole album, that's the whole album to me, man. They're passionate about their craft, still clearly making music that resonates with them and their fans. The drumming, though, is the absolute standout of this album. The catchiness of every chorus, the way it immediately kind of took me back to those early days of discovering this type of music while still being new and not really like a nostalgic record lyrically or thematically. It's somewhere between a 7 and an 8. Well, you know what? Fuck it. Let's call it an 8. The Fool is my standout. What did you think about this one, man?
Yeah, I'm glad you really liked it. So the early November have always been like a like for me. They've never been a love. But yeah, I did listen to them back in the scene days. This album kind of falls into the same category for me as their older stuff. They were always one of the few bands on Drive Through that I just really never dove too deep on. It wasn't really that I disliked them, but I was surprised at how solid they still sound on this, man. I think it's in league with a lot of the other recent projects from legacy acts of their era, like Alkaline Trio and Story of the Year. It's good and it's definitely worth checking out if you're a fan of this band from before or just this type of music in general. Score wise, it's a little tough for me. I think it's easily in the 6 to 7 range, but that doesn't really speak to how good it is. My standout is The Magician. I think they did some different things vocally than I was expecting on that song, and I think it worked.
We made some magic on The Magician.
Shut the fuck up. Oh man. All right. Let's talk about this new one from Malignancy called Discontinued. What are your thoughts on this one?
And here, John, starts the trifecta of death metal subgenres on our mega week of musical exploration. This one is more of a classical death metal sound to me, with some technical twists as the songs progress through. As with most good death metal, this album cover is absolutely unhinged. This was released on Willow Tip Records, who just continues to put out some of my favorite metal records over the last few years. Malignancy has a way with the riff on this one. Starting from the jump with Existential Dead, we get some pretty significant riffs that get more and more technical as the track goes on. This is a formula that Malignancy tends to follow throughout the album, and it's a good formula. There's fret pulls, double bass grooves, no overuse of blast beats, but they are here in full force. One of my favorite parts of this thing, though, are the bass lines. Tracks like Binary Paradigm and Ancillary Biorhythms are fantastic representations of the bass lines. The vocals are almost clear. Like everything is enunciated, and I can understand most of this dude. And I think that adds to a level of eeriness to this record. Not to mention that his highs really sound like early Corpse Grinder. I think that this was a good listen, if not only for the riffs, but the multitude of technical moments that kind of unravel each track as they continue on. It's a 7 for me. Biological absurdity because it has is my standout because it has everything I liked about this album, all in one cute little track. What do you
Of
think about this
course.
one?
I haven't had as much time with this album as I wanted since I was on the road when it dropped, but I really like what I've been hearing from it these last few listens. Purity of Purpose was a banger when we talked about it back in April, and I think that they only expanded on that with this album. It's just death metal done right. It's as brutal as possible, heavy as fuck, and it's also a little outside the box. There's too many metal bands that follow the rules, I think. I love it when a band is like, fuck it, color outside the lines a little bit. The only thing I think that might hold this album back from shining is other releases in the genre overshadowing it. It's been a great year for metal so far, and it's only June. I think this one's deserving of some love, though. It's a strong 7 for me. My standout is either Purity of Purpose or Haunted Cemetery. Symmetry, sorry.
Haunted Symmetry is a good song, man.
Yeah, I dug that one.
Good shit.
All right, man. New album from Vomit the Soul is out. Massive Incineration. This album fucking rocks, dude. I love the almost nonstop blast beat through the opener, the crazy low growls, the heavy breakdowns, the double kick sections that hit like a fucking machine gun. It's all really good. This typically isn't my type of metal, but I really like the specific rhythms that they get into. It's nearly impossible to not bang your head along to. Feels like a good companion to that last job for a cowboy album we talked about a while back. It's only 36 minutes, but they do so much in that time that it feels like a lot longer. I'm going to give this one a 7 too. My standout is Church of Losers. That song fucking rules. What'd you think about this one?
Church of Losers is such a good song title too.
Great,
Um,
dude.
here we have the brutal death metal album released on the heavy label Unique Leader. Blast beats, great riffs, little
Yep.
progression, some pig squeals, and some really fucking great breakdowns on this album, man. It opens with the perfect opener for the album, Annihilate the Infernal Army, as they really only get heavier from here. Blood Time is just this crushing track that has an intense breakdown adorned with a pig squeal that just ripped through my ears. The tremolo picking guitars on Beg for Mercy are fantastic. The dude's low vocals intensify every moment on this track. I think the peak of this album, though, is the track Repulsive Shores into Oblivion, which just encapsulates what this band does so well: tremolo picking, blast beats, crushing bass lines,
Hmm.
and some really sharp vocals. I think the vocals are some of the best that we've heard in death metal, at least this year. It's an 8 for me. Repulsive Shores into Oblivion is my standout. I'm glad you liked this one, man. This was
Yeah, dude.
it's extreme.
It is. It is. And I dug that about it.
There it is.
All right, one more album to talk about this week. It's from Swelling Repulsion called Fatally Misguided. What did you think about this one?
All right, man. I know that this was like a lot of extreme metal for a couple, only like a couple of weeks worth of material, but I just could not let this one pass us by. I was entranced by this album, John. You and our 9 listeners know a few things about me so far. One, I love death metal. Two, I love passionate musicians. And three, I love when bands fuck with genre norms in a way that enhances the experience. This band does all of that. This band does all of that extremely well. Here we have what I can only describe as psychedelic technical death metal. Like, this is released on Transcending Obscurity Records, and they've released a ton of albums over the years that we've been doing this podcast. We've listened to and reviewed quite a few of them, and they've all been a little off kilter and a little different than the rest of the genre, or the rest of the scene, rather. This album is no different. Comes in at just 29 minutes, and I was left gasping for air by the end of each listen while simultaneously begging for more. This thing is awesome, bro. They slow it down, they speed it up, they let moments breathe. This is all on the first track. The bass lines aren't buried in the mix, the guitars are dissonant and technical as fuck. Tracks like the title track are even catchy. The way they have tracks like
Yeah.
Drug Induced Anti Logic, which just rip all the way through and add melodies that still crush shit, paired with tracks like Vanquished and the almost 8-minute epic that is Sullen Light of Exposed to Stars, that take all of the time they need to really create a soundscape that just sprawls through the technical abilities of each band member, really says something about this band. What it says is that they all fuck. I'm a huge fan of this dude. I couldn't stop listening to it this week. I have yet to really digest the lyrics on this one. I don't do that all the time with death metal because normally they're irrelevant, but I'm gonna sit down with the lyrics on this one. I think it deserves it. It's an easy 9 for me, bro. I loved this
Damn.
album. My standout is either Vanquish or Sullen Light of Exposed Stars, but I fucking this is it. This is the sound, bro.
I mean, I don't love it nearly as much as you, but I think you love it enough for the both of us. My thoughts on it are it's rough, it is raw, it's heavy, it's sporadic. It sounds like it was mixed in 5 minutes, but it's also good. Like the talent behind this project is evident when you hear some of the sections they put together on here. The main riff that kicks off Basking in Fumes was stuck in my head multiple times this week.
So
A
good.
few riffs from that track were actually. I like the way that Vanquish slowly spirals into chaos. I like the way that they leave it all on the table with the album closer too. I think that there's a lot to really like about this album and just this band in general. I have it in like the 6 to 7 range, not quite as high as you, but I do agree it's a banger. My standout is Sacred Doom, actually.
Hey, that's a really good song, man. Yeah, dude, it just scratches an itch, I've been on this
I get it, man.
I've been on this like dissonance kick lately, and with metal specifically. And yeah, I think this really, really scratched that itch for me, man. So this was good. I really liked it. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you liked Vomit the Soul, though. That's your metal album of the week, huh?
It is for sure. Yeah, kids love discordant sounds. You are
There
correct.
you go.
You don't know Noi? All right. All right. We'll be back again next week. We're not taking 2 weeks off again, as far as I know. But we are going to be talking about new albums from Kalani, Lola Young, and the story so far, plus more. Be sure to tune into that. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And most importantly, follow along with the podcast or the playlist that the podcast is based on. It's updated weekly on Friday nights. You can find the link to that in the show notes. You can also find us on social media at Instagram and Reddit. Just search Brandon's Face Pod. Give us a follow. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Peace.